I'm here with Sheikh Omar again and Dr. Omar Zaid again, alhamdulillah. And a
Alhamdulillah.
lot of you have been asking me when his next video will come out. Well, inshallah, they'll be coming out, inshallah, very, very soon. Ramadan has tied me up a little bit. Anyway, Dr. Omar, thank you for coming again, alhamdulillah.
Thank you for your invitation, alhamdulillah.
Continuing on the issue of marriage, wanted to present to you some of the other cases I've had as kind of like a standard to work off of in terms of the wisdom that you have and the advice that you have, and you particularly the method that you use, the Tawhidic method. One thing I've noticed, especially amongst the new couples, a lot of them have seen or have a very they want to be married, but they have fears of marriage. So they've seen they've seen a few good examples of good marriages, or they've grown up in houses with not very good marriages, or with like the dad being a chauvinistic, as you mentioned, narcissist man. So now this woman is married to this man. She likes him. He's cute. I like him. But she's also fearful at this time. So the trust because of that is very fragile. Fragile in the sense that the minute he might say no to her, she takes it as a full, it's like a self-prophecy coming true. Her fear is coming true every time he may say no to her about something, or every time he might be angry, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Oh, see, I told myself that, it would happen, and it's happening. And this keeps people from giving their best or their complete self in the marriage. What advice do you have in that case?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. May it please Allah to grant us wisdom here in this moment. This is not an easy question to answer, because it's multi-layered. There are many, many layers of and reasons for the fear. It's not just because of prior experience with their parents, this sort of thing. The entire gamut of the upbringing and educational system creates this fear, you see. It creates a constant state of anxiety. And as you say, the key word here is trust. So there is a mistrust that is now rampant in the world, and it goes right into the bedroom. Okay, and there's several reasons for this, but the most important reason begins in the cradle, and it begins before the cradle. It begins in the womb. Okay. It begins before the angel brings the soul, at the moment of what they call the quickening. In the traditional European sense, they call this moment of the 20 weeks or the 16 weeks, whenever it occurs. They called it the quickening, when the mother could feel the infant already moving. But I want to share with you something that's very important, and something which Brother Dawood Pidcock from England, he's the president of the Muslim political party there, just sent me an email reminding me about a matter which I've already written about in my new book on marriage. This has to do with the vibrations that emanate from just about everything, especially from things which are organic, things which are living. Okay, there was a Japanese man who did some work with the crystallization of water, and it's very valid because he determined that words, when they're spoken
Mm-hmm.
into a glass of water, they have an effect on the water. Well, this is based on the homeopathic principle as well, and it all has to do with the word that we call kun faya kun.
Mm.
Allah spoke this word. We repeat the word. We recite the word, okay, when we pray. We recite the word when we are doing our meditations, if you will, our tafakkur on the Quran. And all of this has an effect on the environment. Now, what Brother Dawood just brought to my attention was the fact that the negative effects on the crystallization properties of the water from the 5G radiation were counteracted by this monk who spoke into the water words of beauty and peace.
Mm.
After he spoke into the water the words beauty and peace, or something to that effect, the water then crystallized and formed a perfect crystal that
Mm.
was beautiful and had all the symmetry. Before that, this asymmetry, the symmetry was gone. Okay. So, what we think, what we say, our intentions, they go out from us.
Mm.
Okay. They go out from us. So, if you are radiating fear and mistrust, that's what you're going to reflect.
Mm.
Okay,
Very good.
because these radiations, we are 70% water.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
our organism, our biological organism, is 70% water. So I want to bring this to people's attentions because these are scientific principles that are now being rediscovered. I mean, for example, the yogis knew about these years ago, and just because they're idolater doesn't mean their science is wrong. Their science
Mm.
is correct. Just because a jinn is evil doesn't mean his science is incorrect. It's
Mm.
correct.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, and I have spent some time sitting with wicked minded people learning science from them.
Mm.
Okay. this this is what reasonable people do.
Mm.
If you don't spend time with the enemy who knows something that you don't know, how can you defeat him?
Mm.
You you have to understand your enemy, and if your enemy understands the deen and understands the science more than you do, hey, he's got an advantage, and that's what's taking place now. You see these people who are radiating the fear, they're irradiating the world with all this 5G. They know exactly what they're doing.
Mm.
They
Yep.
know what they're doing.
You know what they're doing.
And this whole problem now with the COVID thing is a mesmerization, a hypnotism of the entire world.
Mm.
And it's because of this kind of radiation. It's because of what they speak. This speaking goes out, people receive it, and then it vibrates within them.
Mm.
And they're speaking fear, and so the whole world is reacting in fear.
Mm.
So this is why I'm saying this, because the lady who enters the bedroom and is already inculcated with this fear, she's going to negatively react to her husband's advances.
Mm.
And uh, I had one wife on the night of the wedding, I literally had to chase her around the bed,
Mm.
okay, because of this fear. And
Mm.
I had no idea it existed
Mm.
until that moment arrived, you see.
Mm.
So I had to, overcome it, and it was a struggle, but in any case, that is there, and this is not conducive to peace. So men who have such women, they have to handle it in with a bit more TLC. You have to handle your wife, and I'm literally saying that handle. Okay, women want to be manhandled.
Mm.
Okay, They
Mm.
want this, okay? It is something that they must have, okay? They cannot avoid it even though they are afraid of it, okay?
Mm.
Because the desire is placed within them by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's already there. You
Mm.
can't run away from it. People try to run away from it. They run into conflicts. They run into all sorts of excuses. They even become successful CEOs just to run away from it, you see. But it is still something that must be had, okay, in order to complete themselves. You remember last time I
Yes.
talked about completing. Khadija completed the Prophet
Yep.
completed her, okay, this sort of thing. So, this is what marriage is about. It is completing the whole, okay. And if you approach this with fear, you're not going to be able to enter into that realm of Islam, which allows this peace to enter your bed and enter your physical presence, enter your psychologically, spiritually, everything. It just won't happen if you live in fear. And the other thing here is that, husbands have a great problem to overcome this because women are, in fact, more insecure in many ways than men are, but they worry about more things than men do. We put it that way. We worry about different things. Men worry about one set of problems, and women worry about another. Okay, women are primarily worried about relationships.
Mm.
Okay, if you enter a room and you don't know anybody there, you enter with your wife, the man does the first thing that he does. He's looking for the A, typically A type male. He's looking for the lion. He's looking
Mm.
for the old lion who's yet undefeated. Okay. Who is that man? Because the first thing he wants to know is, can I take him?
Mm.
This is instinct. Okay. Do
Okay.
I take him or do I submit to him?
Mm. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Women don't think about this. The first thing a woman does is she finds out who's the most beautiful woman in the world and whether or not she measures up. And then she goes about the room visibly and psychologically assessing who is with whom
Mm.
and whether or not they're happy. She can tell you almost instinctively and
Mm.
within 5 minutes who's with whom and whether or not they're having problems in their marriage. She
Mm.
knows. She can see. And so these are a different set of problems. Okay, a man's not so much concerned about that, but he'll be interested if she brings it to his attention that so and so is,
Yeah.
having problems with his wife, and and then the man will automatically think, okay, how can I use that to my advantage? You
Mm.
see.
Right.
So we're tactical, and women are concerned about their safety. They're concerned about, well, is that relationship going to be a threat to me and to my household?
Mm.
Okay, uh, in a different way than a man would be. A man would worry, how to defend his household. A woman's worried about who's going to attack. Okay,
Mm.
and how they're going to attack. It's a different matter. And a woman is actually your best defense against other woman. Your wife, you see, she'll defend you against women who have the wrong motivations.
Mm.
Okay, the gold diggers, that sort of thing. Um, in any case, we worry about different things. So when people are worried about a different set of problems and you don't communicate about them, you're taking all this worry into the bedroom. Okay. And it affects the relationship, it affects the household and all this sort of thing. And so, what do we do to counteract this? Well, the life of prayer here is what is important. That's the point I'm trying to make here.
Life of prayer.
Uh, the life of prayer counteracts this. Okay, and this kind of the building up of trust is something that takes time.
Mm.
So it's natural for young couples to mistrust each other. This is natural, okay? Because yeah, they're all excited and they're in love and they want to consummate this lust, okay, which is part of our human experience. There's nothing wrong with it under the right conditions, and marriage is the right condition. But along with that, they have these anxieties.
Mm,
What if I don't please him? What if he doesn't let me? What if, what if she, wait, all these questions are there and they're never really truly discussed.
mm,
Okay. It takes a while to bring these things out and put them on the table. And this is something that people learn from their own home environments from their parents for the most part, because parents usually their parents generally are not honest with each other. Okay, so here's a realm where my best advice is to talk about it.
mm.
Okay, talk about these things that you are worried about, confess them, okay? Bring
Be
it to the table.
vulnerable. So you're
Say
saying
again,
be vulnerable.
yes, yes, because we are vulnerable, you see. This is what nakedness is all about. It's about vulnerability. But the nakedness that we are vulnerable to is not so much the physical nakedness, it's the spiritual nakedness.
Mm,
And if we confess to each other that yes, we are vulnerable, but we are trusting in each other to be each other's clothing. You
mm,
see, as the Quran says, then this overcomes that vulnerability. If you don't discuss it, you're not admitting that the other person is important to you.
mm,
So this is an element of the level of trust that you enter into when you discuss these matters. So advice to a husband is this. Okay, my advice to a husband is this. For example, when your wife does something that pleases you, you compliment her for
mm,
it. I mean, really compliment her, not
mm,
just say, "Oh yeah, that's nice, darling, thank you." That. No, no. You say, "Oh, I love you because you do this. This
mm.
is my favorite dish." Da da
Right.
da. This sort of thing. Oh, thank you for take. I daily thank my wife. Okay, that for taking care of me.
Right.
I thank her every day for taking
Mashallah.
care of me. Okay.
Mashallah.
So this is something that builds trust so that when a moment comes when the thing that is feared can come to the surface, it can be discussed.
Mm.
So that's just one avenue. The other avenue in which you can reassure
Yeah,
your
I just
spouse.
want to interject here and say that's actually very superb. And for anybody that's listening, because I've done counseling now for more than 10, 12 years, 13 years. What you just said, I don't even hear that from like very experienced counselors.
Mm,
The idea that if you build that trust by thanking the other person, showing gratitude, that gives a cushion for that time when things will be difficult, but
yes.
you have to have that conversation of whatever is bothering you or whatever mistrust you have.
Well,
It also
yes.
reminded me of the verse of the Quran when you said that she's a covering for hunna libasul lakum, she's a covering for you and you are
Yes.
a covering for them.
Yes.
And I want to also bring to your attention that you might find this interesting. This particular verse was mentioned in general, it's there, it's in general, but
Hmm.
it's
Yes.
specifically mentioned for the month of Ramadan,
Is that
meaning
so?
yes, because the companions of the Prophet were not having their intimacy with their wives in Ramadan, thinking that it's not allowed. And then
Oh.
they would, not being sure if it's allowed or not.
Hmm.
And Allah said, no, you have to go to your wife. Like Allah basically says, وَبَاشِرُهُنَّ, definitely go to them. Meaning
Mm.
in the month of Ramadan, it's almost like an encouragement to have intimacy in the month of Ramadan.
Hmm.
Uh, And then that's where Allah says, "Hunna libasul lakum." They're a covering for you. Wa antum libasul lahunna, and you are a covering.
Oh, that's the context.
That
Yes,
is context. So
yes.
I found that interesting because I was thinking that, as you go through Ramadan, as you're reflecting, you're actually become more aware of your deficiencies,
Yes,
where you lack,
yes.
and
Your
so
vulnerabilities too.
your vulnerabilities. And so, that's when you go to your wife and discuss with her, I guess, whatever they are, and then they become a covering for you, and you become a covering for them. But anyway, I was just throwing that in only because uh, we are in the month of Ramadan. It reminded me of that verse when you talked about vulnerability and nakedness, the
Hmm.
that they're a covering for each other.
Yes. You don't need to look for these things. They will come. Okay. These vulnerabilities, these weaknesses that we have, they will show themselves.
Mm,
And in the marriage, that's where they really show themselves. They show
mm,
themselves in the marriage. Nobody knows you better than your mother, your father, and your spouse. Okay, they know you. The only person who knows you better is Allah. Okay,
mm,
and your angels don't even know you that well. They just take
mm.
notes, but it's
Right.
not a penetrating it's not
Yeah.
a penetrating knowledge.
Right.
Um,
They don't know what you're thinking and your intention.
yeah, yeah,
They only write
exactly.
what you do.
They don't understand, motivations. They don't have this kind of soulishness, but we have that. So when you are, I want to get back to this concept of complementarity, and complementing your spouse. You
Mm,
see, when your wife pleases you, you say so. When she does something good for the general public, you make sure that you are publicly known to be proud of your wife.
oh,
Right?
subhanallah. It's a good point.
Okay, to be publicly this is something I do all the time for my spouse. It's just sort of personal anecdote here. I like to tell some. I like to joke a lot, and when I married my wife, first of all, I didn't ask her. She asked me. Okay, she asked me to marry her, and she said it in this way. We were having a conversation, and she said, "Well, you want to marry me or not?" And I said, "Oh, well, yes, of course I do." And that now the interesting thing is this: is that I had three other wives already at the
Mm,
time. Now this is going back 12 years ago, and so I like to tell people that my wife was so good she chased the other women away.
mm, mm,
She was so good at everything that she did, the other women became too jealous of her, and
mm,
they couldn't compete. And instead of submitting to her superiority, okay, what they did was they fought with her,
mm,
and that created, of course, fitna in the household.
mm,
And even though I tried to overcome it, in any case, the short of it is, she was the superior woman, and I make sure that everyone knows this. You
mm.
see, I'm doing it again. See, even now.
Right. Yeah.
So when she hears me praising her, at the gates of the city, at the gates of the community, that reassures her of her own identity as not only my wife, and uh, but as the child of God that she wants to be, as
Mm,
the servant that she wants to be, because this is what's in her as a woman, to be a good wife, and a
mm,
good mother, and a
mm,
good friend, and a good companion, and a good whatever it is that she is in her relationship with other people in the community. The husband needs to praise her. No.
That's interesting. Let me share with you a tradition of the Prophet, and you tell me from your perspective. I'll tell you the traditional
Yes.
understanding, and then
Yes.
you bring to me what you just brought, because I think
Mm.
that adds a new dimension to this. Companions of the Prophet ask the Prophet, "Who do you love the most?"
Mm.
And the Prophet said, "Aisha." And they said,
Ah.
"No, that's not what we mean. Like, you know, that's not what we mean. We mean meaning that we mean amongst the men." And then when he replied, he said, "Her father." Again, he referred to her instead of
Yes.
Abu Bakr. He said, "Her
Yes.
father." Now,
Yes.
the commentary, the traditional commentary, when we read our texts, is that it was not a very tasteful idea to praise your wife or to say you love, not praise. It was not a tasteful idea in the Arabs of that time. It was seen as a weakness that
Ah.
you would say something about love to
Mm.
regarding wife in public. So
Mm-hmm.
this is what the Prophet was doing. So that's our traditional piece that
Yes.
every alim reads. But
Mm-hmm.
now you're bringing a new piece here, and I want you to further comment on that. That is that
Sure.
by doing this, he's actually reassuring her too. You know,
Well,
he's
he's not just reassuring her, he's reassuring the entire community
mm,
because his dean is in the community and at home. So the whole thing is coming together, and he's reassuring, yes, I am your prophet, I am the leader of this community, and I am very, very pleased with my wife. So
mm,
that means that my dean at home is all is fulfilled so that I can fulfill this dean in public.
mm,
Okay? They go together. You can't have one without the other. So hiding one and pretending it doesn't exist in public, that's just, that's old. That's part from the days of Jahiliyyah. Okay? That's from the days of, this proud arrogance. Okay? And it's been carried over into, present society. And that's something that should just be repented of. It should be gotten rid of.
mm,
Okay? Because we are each other's clothing. And
mm.
where do you wear your clothes? Well, you don't wear them in bed, you wear them on the street.
Huh. Yeah.
Okay. So let's you got to bring the whole thing together. So yes, the prophet was breaking a taboo when he did that.
Yes,
He was breaking a taboo, and he broke many taboos.
that's right.
God
Yeah.
bless him. He broke many taboos. That was his job. And I think part of our job here, even in our, simple discussions that we're having, is to break these taboos.
Yes. Break
And
the
some
yeah.
people are going to be, hell bent to, you know, keep them intact, but they must be broken in order for this covering to to allow us to overcome the fear, the insecurities, because what you're talking about at the beginning of this discussion is insecurity.
Yes.
If you are not making your wife secure, then I guarantee that her insecurity is feeding back into you, and it will reflect itself in the street,
Mm.
and the wise person will be able to see it. Okay,
Yeah,
people
actually, I
like
can just think of
me,
a case that
people like me, or even
yes,
yourself,
I mean, actually, on
yeah.
this very case
Hmm.
that I was actually thinking about had an incident in their in-laws also. So it like reflects outwards,
Yes,
right?
yes,
So the fear that's internal then becomes an external issue later on at some
yes.
point. And
What
and
happened?
it just
Yeah.
and so I guess my question at this point is that uh, when there is mistrust, so you're saying that you should sit down with your wife and talk about whatever is bothering you or whatever is or if it's her, she should sit down with
Mm,
her husband. And
mm,
at another time you in one of the previous discussions you said she should look for the right time,
yes,
appropriate time.
yes,
I think that's also a very important point, practically speaking. Um, that she or he should sit down with their spouse and talk about whatever is bothering them. Um, up to what level do you take that? Like, for example, should a guy have, and I know this may not be related to trust, but it's
Hmm.
still related to marriage. Should a guy sit down with his wife and say, I love you, but I think you've gained a lot of weight. You need to lose weight. I don't, I think a lot of the young guys, at least, or even older guys, might find it very hard to have a conversation like that. Uh,
Well, this is something that you have to be proactive about. Okay. After the weight is gained, it's a bit too late. you, you know, uh, and of course, doesn't have anything to do with trust. We're going off target here, but if you want to pursue that, we can. This is an important problem now, um, and it shouldn't be, but it is, and it's because of the modern lifestyle, and it's also because of a certain attitude that sets in to women after they produce one or two children. They start to act like a walrus and still pretend that they're beauty queen qualified, and they're not. Okay, but they act like it. You see, so this is something that the husband needs to be proactive about. Okay,
mm,
um, and I don't for myself. I'm fortunate, but I haven't had that kind of a problem with my women. In the past, and my present wife is certainly at 61. She still approaches sweet 16 in certain ways. Um, so how to overcome this? Yes, you have to be honest about it. Okay, if you're going to tackle this problem, because it affects your sexuality.
mhm,
And as I've said before, and I'm going to repeat myself here, such women have disqualified themselves from the sensual realm.
mm,
They've disqualified themselves as a sexual partner. Okay. And the same goes for men. Okay. These big belly men who come home stinking and whatnot. These are grounds for divorce.
mm,
Okay. A woman has grounds to divorce her husband if she finds him offensive
mhm,
physically. Okay.
mhm.
I think this is under the fiqh.
Yeah.
Of course, so part of this is a real problem. And the women are offended, the men are offended, by each other's physical presence, not just the psychological aspects, and they're even worse, because psychological offense is worse than physical offense in many realms. So what you're doing when you have both is you're compounding the problem. And there's no way that trust can be had in this realm unless the problem is confronted.
Mm,
Okay, unless the problem is confronted and then spoken about honestly. Okay, for example, there came a time in my life, and I'll be quite frank about this, when my active sexual life actually ended because not, I was physically unable, okay, because of my multiple sclerosis, to perform the dance,
mm,
okay. Now, my manhood still would rise to the occasion, but I could not dance,
mm,
okay. This
mm,
is a problem. And
mm,
so I just looked to my wife and I say, darling, I'm afraid my sexual life is over.
mm,
Okay, because it's too problematic. If you can't perform the act gracefully, then it's an offense.
mm,
See, it becomes an offense. And if you are approaching the marriage bed and you're an offense to your partner, well, what spirituality is in that? What
mm,
grace is in that? That's
mm,
a purely selfish and completely self-centered, it-centered moment. And then you are just making use of your spouse as if they're some sort of property,
mm,
and it's obligatory on them to be offended by you
mm,
for your benefit. This is the wrong kind of thinking. It's the wrong kind of thinking. So if you can't confront these issues honestly and then say, it's like the prophet said, when your wife gets to a certain stage or a certain age and you no longer find her attractive, get a younger wife, but keep the old one in your house. Keep
Mm.
her under your roof. Okay. The problem is that nobody wants to talk about these things honestly.
Mm.
And when you talk about these things honestly, you are allowing another dimension of Allah's grace and Allah Himself to enter your relationship and increase the trust factor.
Mm.
I can trust my husband to be honest with me.
Mm.
Ah, okay. It's not pleasant, but you see, the women who don't want to look in the mirror honestly will not want to listen to this. Okay.
Mm.
They will not want to hear what I'm saying right now. Okay. Nor will the husbands. And you have to, it comes to one point, you say, darling, look, I love you, but I don't want to have sex with you anymore because you're ugly.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a hard thing to say.
Well, it's an honest thing to say.
Yeah.
Okay. And once you say it, it's on the table, you see. And then she has to deal with it. If you don't confront it, if it's not discussed, if it's not laid on the table, she's going to, just pretend everything's okay, and it's not okay.
Mm.
Okay, you're coming home every day. She's thinking it's okay. It's not okay, and it's not been okay for 5 years. Okay,
Right. Yeah, I mean that's what's
so
happening in a lot of marriages. So if they
yeah.
were honest, then at least maybe then she could say, okay, fine, I'll do this. I'll work out or I'll lose X amount of weight or
Yeah, I'll stop
you know,
eating
wh-
the ice cream, or I'll,
yeah.
whatever it is. Okay, there's a way. You see, look, let's look at it from another perspective. Okay, and forget all this sexuality stuff. Just think about the human health aspect. Okay, and let's talk about striving to be the best.
Mm.
Okay, if you're striving to be the best, then you want to conform to that sine wave. You see, where you have the normal, and then the first one or two standard deviations. You want to stay within at least. You want to try and stay within the first standard deviation of what is normality. Why? Because that is the ideal. That approaches the ideal. And though you may not be able to do it all the time, you may not make it, you should be striving to do it. You
Mm.
see, you should not just let yourself go and become a walrus. Okay, that's what a walrus does, because a walrus needs all that fat in the ocean to keep themselves warm.
Mm.
You're a woman, you don't need that fat.
Mm.
Okay, you're just lazy and you're ungrateful.
Mm.
Oh, there he said it again. He said it again. Okay, that word ungrateful. Well, it's all over in the Quran, isn't it? It's
Yes.
everywhere in the Quran. And so when a person is letting themselves go and they're not striving to do their best, they're showing ungratitude. They're showing ingratitude. Okay, for what Allah has given them as their best. You look okay. So I'll just give you an example again from myself, because it's not personal anecdotes are interesting.
Mm.
At the age of 28, I was in the army and I was pretty in pretty good shape.
Mm.
Okay, like most young men, and my weight at that time was about 145 to 50 pounds.
Mm.
Okay, somewhere thereabouts. Now I'm 70 years old, 71. I'm incapacitated, and I'm not in the best of shape, but my weight has now increased to about 160 pounds, 65. So I've gained about 15 kilograms
Mm.
over what? How many years? 40 years?
Mm.
Okay. And I didn't gain up until just a few years ago. I kept my weight at about 150 pounds.
Mm.
Okay, all those years.
Mm.
Now, I'm not saying I didn't have a few bad years where I ate or drank too much, but yes, for the most part, I kept my weight at that age, at that realm. So men are just as responsible for keeping themselves in physical shape as women are.
Mm.
Women are more so because they represent a certain element of beauty that has the responsibility to keep their man's attraction, okay, to keep their man's attention. Women are more attracted to a man emotionally than physically. Not saying that they aren't physically, but the emotional attachment is what's stronger in a woman. But
Mm.
the physical attraction is just as important for the man as the emotional attraction. Emotional attraction comes, over a period of time for the man. The man, when he sees, I always said, how do you know? How do I know I'm in love? Well, because you want to eat now. You
Right.
see, why do you want to eat? And I'll say this, I'll bring this up because, look, ladies, listen to me carefully. There was a time when you were your husband's favorite dish,
Mm.
okay? And if you want to remain his favorite dish, you have to qualify,
Mm.
okay? You have to keep this dish cooked. You have to
Mm.
keep it warm. You have to keep it hot. You have to, you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
If you don't do that, then you will not become his favorite dish. And
Mm.
it's not his fault.
Mm.
It's not his fault. So when the prophet was very honest about these things, he
Yeah,
said,
he's
when that
very honest.
happens,
And
he
he
said,
talked.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
go on, go on.
So I guess my next question is that for people that have been married 10 years, 12 years,
Uh,
and things have started to slack or the attention isn't there, let's say in the bedroom as much. Um, and would you not say that ingratitude from a guy's perspective leads to a type of mistrust?
ingratitude. You mean ingratitude? The man's not grateful
No,
to his
the
wife, or what?
ingratitude of the wife in terms of not being
Oh,
responsible.
yes, yes, yes. Well, this is not a question of trust. This is a question of respect.
Mm.
Okay, this is a matter of respect because what happens is that, yeah, the man may continue to trust his wife, but he's not going to respect her in the same way.
Mm.
You see, when you let yourself go physically, that means you're manifesting a certain lack of self-respect.
Mm.
And this manifestation radiates out from you, just like the prayer or the good intention. You
Mm.
can't help it, If if you become physically unattractive, you lose a certain amount, an element of respect in that realm.
Mm.
Why? Why did your husband hold you in high regard before? Because you were beautiful.
Mm.
You're a manifestation of Allah's beauty, you see.
Mm.
Allah created you to be beautiful in order to attract his attention, and
Mm.
then you lost your beauty. Well, well, it's his fault I lost my beauty because he made me pregnant. Da 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 da. That's nonsense.
Mm.
Absolute nonsense.
Mm.
Forget that. It's not his fault. If
Mm.
you've lost your beauty, it's your fault. It's your fault. It may also be the fault of the community at large for not educating you properly as a young woman. Okay, this is where the elder women, these big fat walruses sitting on the bench, or in the kitchen, they fail to educate the younger women,
Mm.
and they give them the wrong attitudes.
Mm.
Okay, and so that these young women, then grow up to become the overbearing mother-in-law
Mm.
for the same reason. If you maintain your beauty, you maintain a certain element of grace.
Mm.
Okay, and this grace carries over into the marriage. If you lose this beauty, then you're losing that element of the grace too. You see, this is ingratitude. You see, oh, I was once beautiful, but now I'm, it doesn't matter. Yes, it matters. It matters, lady. Don't
Yeah.
you think it doesn't? And this ingratitude expresses itself as uh, a loss, this loss of beauty. It expresses itself as being ugly.
Mm.
Okay. Because when you're ungrateful, you become spiritually ugly and you become physically ugly as well. Okay.
Mm.
When you are grateful, then this translates into grace, and grace translates into beauty.
Mm.
Okay. So the graceful lady, let's just say a lady has, she's had 7 children and she just can't get it back. Okay.
Mhm.
She can't get back this grace. It doesn't exist anymore. Well, then she has to transcend this realm. And she has to say, my husband, I know that I'm no longer attracted to you. And so here's my friend here, so and so. And she's still young and beautiful, and she's willing, and she needs a good husband, and you are a good man.
Mm.
You see, this should be the attitude.
Mm.
This should be the attitude.
Mm.
Why? Well, because there aren't enough good men now, aren't there? And rather than competing with each other, dear ladies, you should be helping each other. Okay. And if you've lost your qualifications as a beautiful sexual partner, you can keep them as a graceful wife.
Mm.
Okay. And then this leads us to the question of polygamy.
Yes.
And if you want to pursue that, we can, but I don't know if we have enough time now to do it. But
We
I
could
have
definitely
some.
do that. Polygamy will be the next question on the next episode, so to say.
Okay,
But
okay,
I have a case scenario
yes,
in which I think, Allahu Alam, that maybe we can tie this case with some of the previous issues we've already mentioned
okay,
in there. So there's a husband and wife.
mm,
The wife does not have or has not had a good time with the husband's family, meaning the in-laws.
yes, yes,
We talked about the in-laws before.
yes,
He doesn't get along with the sisters. Let's say,
uh,
I'm giving a scenario, right? She
yes,
doesn't get
yes,
along with the sisters. Now, Ramadan is going to come to an end. It's going to be Eid. Families have to meet.
mm,
Husband's like, okay, let's go to my mom's house. And she's
mm,
like, oh, I don't do well with that. Uh,
mm,
can I like go to my parents' house? They're in the same city.
mm,
Um, so can I just go to my parents' house instead? And the husband is upset. Like, what do you mean you don't get along with my family? Right? That's absurd, is the way it's
mm.
absurd for you to even say that to me. Um, so what would be your take on that?
Oh my gosh! Well, you have to look at each individual case. You see, you can't give a blanket overview here. There are some generalities, I suppose, one could enter into, but there are reasons for incompatibility. And these reasons for the incompatibility need to be discussed. They need to be um, on the table, just as any other issues of trust. Okay. If the husband is not willing to accept his wife's objections, then they can't have a conversation about this. If they can enter into a conversation about it and he's willing to listen to her perspective, then he's liable to learn something here from
Mm,
her, because after all, Allah did not give his mother or his sisters to her as a spouse. He gave this woman to him as a spouse.
mm,
And that means she is his closest neighbor, you
mm,
see. And this is meant to be until death.
Mm.
Okay, the you know, in Genesis, it talks about marriage, and it talks about uh, Adam and Eve, and then it talks about their children, and he says, "For this reason, a man will leave his mother and father and
Yes.
cling to his wife."
Yes.
Okay, so if you want to cling to your wife and you want your wife to cling to her, you had better enter this realm and understand why she's having problems,
Mm.
okay, with your people,
Mm.
okay? They're not her people, they're your people, okay? So
Mm.
this is a reflection on you, and it is a challenge to you clinging to her. If
Mm.
you can't overcome this, then you may just have to you may have to uncling, okay?
Mm.
If your family, your mother, your brother, your sisters are more important than her, she's going to weigh this in the scale, okay? And she's going to
Very.
think automatically, I don't count. I'm not important. And that disqualifies you as her companion.
Mm.
It makes you an owner.
Mm.
Okay. It doesn't make you a companion. It
That
makes
becomes
you an
male
owner.
chauvinism, as you were
Yes.
saying.
Yes. So what you want to do, you see, it may be as easy as this. It may be that you sit down at the table with you and you acknowledge the incompatibilities.
Mm.
And I have done this with my wife, with certain of my family, and they're actually I've had to divorce myself from certain members, okay, of my family for her sake,
Mm.
for her sake,
Mm.
and this was not an unjustifiable divorce. It was because those people were actively wicked.
Mm.
Okay, so I had to make a decide: am I going to protect her from their wickedness, or am I going to pretend it doesn't exist?
Mm.
Okay, because I always knew it existed, you see,
Mm.
but it was never a problem for me because I had left the house and I just go to visit every once in a while. Da 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 da. But
Mm.
if this wickedness becomes a daily or weekly imposition, this is a problem.
Mm.
Okay, this is a problem. And people are wicked. Okay, your mother, your father, your brothers, your sisters, they are sinners.
Mm.
Okay, and some are better at it than others.
Mm.
Okay, and it may be that your wife just doesn't want to put up with it.
Mm.
Okay, there's no commandment that says she has to.
Mm.
She does not have to.
Right. She doesn't have to, of course. Yeah.
And you don't have to force her. Okay, if you want to force her, then you become her boss, you become her owner, you are no longer her companion. You've disqualified yourself even if she remains with you. She
There's a
no
lot
longer.
of Muslim couples, especially
Yes,
the husband, that choose their moms over
mm,
their spouses or their family members over their
yes,
spouses. And it's actually very common, I think.
yes,
In the
yeah,
Pakistani community, in the Indian subcontinent community, in the
yes,
Arab community, it's very common for
yes,
and you know it's under a righteous claim.
yes,
And the
yeah,
righteous claim is, what do you want me to, not be nice to my family, or you don't want me to go to my parents' house? Like, how could you dare do this? But it
yes,
comes many times at the cost of the wife becoming the property, as you said, because
yes,
her considerations are not considered even.
yes, yes. This is a form of injustice. Okay, and the thing is, it should be discussed. Okay, and the thing of it is it should, you should even be able to go to your father's house and say, look, we're coming, but we're only going to stay a little bit because you know as well as I do that mom is going to give my wife a hard time within the hour.
Hmm.
Okay, and if you don't stop, and if you
There are
don't stop,
that could be a very common thing, I can tell you.
and if you don't stop her, we're leaving. Okay, so but the man is too much of a coward to do this, you
mm,
see. So he pretends not to be a coward by lording it over his poor wife.
mm,
Okay, this is what happens, and I'm calling them all out now. I'm just saying you're a coward. You're a coward because you don't want to speak the truth. You don't want to confront the truth, and you're using a false sense of piety to cover your own crime here against
mm,
your wife.
mm,
Okay, whom you swore to Allah to be her husband, her
mm,
protector, her provider. Okay, you're her clothing. Okay, you're her protector. So protect her, and if that means protecting her from your family, then this is also an obligation. It
mm,
doesn't mean you have to disrespect your family. It just means you have to be honest with them.
mm,
Look, Dad, I love you. Look, Mom, I love you, but I love my wife more.
mm. Yeah,
Okay? And
yeah.
you're disrespecting her. And when you disrespect her, you're disrespecting me. And we'll have a cup of tea, we'll have a meal, but then we're going. We're not going to hang around just so you can disrespect her.
Mm,
Okay? So, and if you say this, okay, if you get it on the table, they might just do something about it
right,
that is
right.
positive. But if you never confront it, the problem only grows.
Mm,
It only grows and it gets worse. And it becomes anti grace. It becomes a force that destroys the crystals in the water.
mm,
We're
mm,
70% water. So
mm,
we come back there and all of this is radiating. It doesn't matter what your outward adab is.
mm,
It's foolish to pretend the adab if inwardly you're raging, okay? Because this is what's happening. So with this rage radiates out, and the jinn, they see the rage and they love it.
mm.
They love it.
Yeah.
And they say, yes, 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 yes. And they just hit you all the more with it.
Right.
So the brave man, the good husband, protects his wife from this nonsense.
Mm,
And at the other extreme, he also protects his family from her nonsense.
right.
You
Okay.
know, let's just turn the tables a little bit here. Some women are just they're arrogant, prideful little twits. Okay, and they need to be put in their place. If they're not, then you just say, no, I'm not taking you to my parents' house. You don't, they're not worthy of you, or you're
Mm,
not worthy of you're not worthy of their company. You stay home until I come back and bed you.
mhm,
He can do this. You can do this.
mm,
Okay. Some women who are like that, they need to be put in their place because they think they're God's gift to everybody, and they're not.
mm,
Okay. Just because they're so bloody beautiful. Okay, this is not the case. This is not gratitude. This
mm.
is ingratitude.
Yeah.
This arrogance, this pride. So the husband has to be the son. He has to be the mediator here. And he should try and do it diplomatically. And the greatest diplomacy is the tongue of honesty.
Mm,
You see, some of your greatest diplomats, they don't lie. They tell the
right.
truth
Yeah.
very carefully.
Yeah.
And they say it without insulting you. If you're insulted, it's because you insult yourself by hearing it.
Mm,
Okay? It's not because they're insulting. It's not because they're not speaking the truth. The point here I'm trying to say is that on all fronts, it is the husband's obligation to make sure that the truth is put on the table.
mm,
If it's not put on the table, then there is an element of mistrust someplace in the relationship, someplace in the familial relations, somewhere. This thing has to be put on the table. You put it on the table, you deal with it.
mm,
Okay. And sometimes things have to be dealt with by just separating them from you.
mm.
I went to a period in my life where I made the prayer, and I literally said, asked God to put things away from me, including people that are not mine by His will.
Subhanallah.
Okay? And slowly but surely, this began to happen.
Mm.
Okay? These things, circumstances, would separate us.
Mm.
And sometimes when the circumstances arises, the man has to cut. He simply has to bring the sword out and cut the tie
Mm.
because it's not good.
Mm.
Okay, it's like the drug dealer who's the brother or sister, or the drug addict. Eventually, you have to cut them loose if
Right.
they don't ante up and
Yeah.
get with it. Uh, you can't put up with those kinds of people forever.
Yeah. Because otherwise they'll drown you.
They will drown you, and they will drown everything that's closest to you.
Yeah.
So these sorts of things, a man has to man up and take care of the matter by handling the truth of the matter, not by pretending it doesn't exist.
Mm.
And that is what most men are doing now, especially amongst the Muslims. They're pretending it doesn't exist, and they're using a false sense of piety to cover their sin, to cover their irresponsibility in this area.
Mm.
If they were men, I mean, you look at somebody like Abu Bakr, okay, God rest him, he would never put up with these kinds of nonsense.
Mm.
With Abu Bakr, my God, the truth is on the table within 2 minutes.
Yeah,
And it
subhanallah.
was dealt with, okay? And this is what has to happen. The truth must be dealt with.
Mm.
If you're not getting along, then try to find a way to reconcile. If you can't reconcile, then separate in peace. There's no sense in staying around bumping heads. And if you're going to bump heads every time you go visit somebody, don't go visit them. Say, and when they call you and say, "Why aren't you coming?" I say, "Because I don't want to fight with you. Every time we come, we fight. I'm tired of it. I don't want to fight anymore. If you're ready to invite me and my wife without fighting, then we'll come." Okay. This is another diplomatic way of saying it. How dare you be such an ungrateful son? It's got nothing to do with ingratitude. Nothing
Mm.
to do with ingratitude. Has everything to do with truth. So
Yeah.
if you want to be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your creator, deal truthfully and honestly with each other.
Mm.
Don't pretend.
Mm. Okay, inshallah. Thank you so much. This was another great round of discussion, interview. So inshallah, until next time, inshallah. Um,
Wassalamu alaikum wa
Assalamu alaikum
rahmatullahi wa
wa rahmatullahi.
barakatuh.
Thank you so much, inshallah.
You're welcome.
Make sure to subscribe today and make sure you like and make sure you leave your comments and ideas. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله